Hi everybody, this is Richard and I'm back today with a video with some great expressions to show contrast, purpose, reason and result. Now these are some great expressions probably about a B2 level of the language. So if you're not at a B2 level yet, this video is going to be great for you. If you're already at a B2 level or even if you're at a C1 level, you're still going to be able to gain something from this video because it's going to have lots of vocabulary, maybe some stuff you don't know, maybe some vocabulary and expressions you can add to your active vocabulary. Now, for the majority of today's lesson, we're going to be going through a Google document like we've done in previous lessons. This Google document is available in the comments of the video, so you can access it later. You can have a look at some of the great examples, but it does really go well with this video. So I'm going to share the screen quite a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the first bit, which is expressing contrast. So let me share the screen. Okay. We have a few expressions for expressing contrast, and the first one we can use is although or even though. Now, we can use this at the beginning of a sentence or in the middle of a sentence. We never use a comma after although or even though. We have some examples here. Although or even though they weren't perfect, last quarter's sales were pleasing. Okay, wasn't perfect, was pleasing though. So although or even though. We can inverse it. Last quarter's sales were pleasing, although they weren't perfect. Even though they weren't perfect, there's always room for improvement, especially in business. So the first one, although or even though. Our second way of expressing contrast is however. We normally use however to connect two different sentences. We normally use however at the beginning of the second sentence. There is another way we can use it. Our first example, the hotel was awful. However, comma, the beach was wonderful. Always a comma after it. Second example, last quarter's sales were good. However, we need to keep costs in line. We can use it at the end of the sentence as well. So we could say something like, last quarter's sales were good. We need to keep costs in line, comma, however. It's not used so much, so probably don't use it, but it is possible. You might read it in certain things. Our next one is despite or in spite of. Now, despite or in spite of are normally followed by a noun or an ing verb. They go at the beginning or in the middle of a sentence. Let's look at these examples. Despite or in spite of difficult sales conditions, the new product launch was successful. So that's an example of using it at the start of the sentence. Despite or in spite of, they're interchangeable. The second example, when we have it in the middle of the sentence, Helen's team performed well despite losing several key team members to illness. Helen's team performed well in spite of losing several key team members to illness. So we can see in that second sentence, we have the verb ing. So it's either followed by a noun or followed by a verb ing. Let's go to our second section now, looking at expressing purpose. So when we express purpose, the easiest way to do that is just by using to plus infinitive. You already know this is very easy. Examples. The players worked really hard to win the game. The team pulled an all-nighter to finish the project on time. To pull an all-nighter means to work all night. Maybe you pulled an all-nighter when you were a student and you studied all night in preparation for an exam. We can also say in order to or so as to. Now this is a bit more formal. You'll see this in writing quite a lot. It will make you sound more intelligent, however, so definitely something to try to use. Let's have a look at a couple of examples of this. We had to stay late in order to finish the project. We had to stay late to finish the project. It's just the same thing. So in order to just is a bit more formal, used in writing, used by intelligent people. So try and use it. He arrived at the airport early in order to not miss a flight. So if you look at the negative, in order to not, plus verb. She set a reminder so as to remind herself to ask her boss. She needed to ask her boss a question. She reminded herself. She set a reminder on her phone so as to remind herself. He set 3 alarms so as not to wake up late. So the negative of so as to is so as not to plus verb, so as not to wake up late. We can also use so that. Now, we use so that plus subject plus verb to express purpose. Now, we normally use a modal verb as well. So we'll have a look at this. A couple of examples. We left early so that we could have enough time to find the place. Imagine if you have a business meeting, you don't know exactly where the location is, you might leave early so that you can find the place easily. So you can see we've got the subject, we've got the modal verb could as well. And in the second example, we have a similar thing. He wrote his vocabulary in his workbook, so it would be easier to remember. The would, the modal verb. So we use so that plus subject plus modal verb quite a lot. Good tip for you there. Learn some vocabulary, make a book, have a book purposefully designed for vocabulary. It's the only thing you write in there. It could be quite good for you. I know a lot of learners use this. We can also use for plus noun. Now we use for plus noun to express purpose for an activity. I got up early to go for a run, okay? They went for a walk after dinner. I'm sure you know this one anyway. This is quite easy. And we also can use for plus verb ing. We use this to talk about the purpose of an object or an action. So the knife is for cutting fish, or the knife is used for cutting fish. We're expressing the reason we use the object, the knife. We can also use in case. Now, in case is a little bit different because we use in case. This is a form we use to talk about precautions. When we do something because something not wanted might happen, I'll set off early in case the traffic is bad. So normally, if I want to get somewhere on time, maybe I'll set off early in case the traffic's really bad in the morning and I'm going to be late and I don't want to be late. So that's the bad thing that might happen. So I take that precaution of setting off early, leaving my house early. Take an umbrella in case it rains. Good advice if you go to the UK, of course. Let's move on now to look at expressing reason. Now, when we're expressing reason, we can use a few different, let's move that, make it nice on the next page. Now, the easiest way to express reason, of course, is to use because. So when we use because, it's just the simplest way plus verb. I didn't attend the meeting because I was ill. Okay, because the meeting ran over, I got home late. So you can see we can use because in the middle of a sentence, or we can use it at the start of a sentence. The second one is as or since. Now this is very, very similar to because. It's maybe a bit more formal, more used in writing. As the stranded hikers were high in the mountains, they had to be rescued by helicopter. Because the stranded hikers were high in the mountains, they had to be rescued by helicopter. It's the same, it's just as and since are a bit more formal, more common for written language. If you're doing CAE writing, IELTS writing, as or since is really good. I'm sure another one most of you know is because of. Now we use because of plus noun. And it's just a simple way to explain something. The conference was cancelled because of the pandemic. In 2020, lots of things were cancelled because of the pandemic. So the conference was cancelled because of something. But also we can use due to, owing to, on account of plus noun. So instead of because of, you could actually use one of these variances as well. Now these, of course, are a bit more formal and a bit more common in writing. So just try and use those when you can. And the last one I would like to go through is expressing result. So we've got some good vocabulary here for expressing result. The first one is so. We couldn't decide what to watch, so we decided to watch Friends. Happens a lot. You're on Netflix, you can't decide what to watch, and you spend 15 minutes checking, and in the end you say, okay, let's just watch something. Let's watch Friends because everyone knows it. I skipped breakfast, so now I'm hungry. If you look, there's a comma and then there's so, and there's a comma, and then there's so. That's how we use it. We can also say, for this reason. We normally use this structure at the beginning of a sentence, normally at the beginning of a second sentence, to explain the result of something. Sales were down significantly last year, full stop. For this reason, comma, the company are considering making redundancies. So if you look, full stop, for this reason, comma, result. We can also use as a result, consequently, therefore. This is quite similar to for this reason, probably a bit more formal. Again, let's have a look at a couple of examples. The sales fair was cancelled. As a result, comma, many company sales were affected. He was always passionate about painting, full stop. Consequently, comma, he decided to study art at university. So you can see we've got a few different ways to express contrast, purpose, reason, and result. Let me just stop the share screen. So just a quick lesson today with some great vocabulary. Really spend some time looking through this vocabulary. If there's some you know, great. If there's some more complex terms or expressions that you don't know, really try and learn them. Write some sentences down in the comments. I will definitely check them for you if you want to test out some of this new language. I hope that helps. Keep learning, keep watching some of the videos, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.